Tiger Talk. Flash report.
Yeah, great college football game. So proud of the grit and the perseverance of our football team. Down 17-0 on the road in the SEC against, that's a veteran, football team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The guys work so hard. It's hard to give, they're not going to give up. That's in their DNA. They're not going to, let the rope slip. They're just going to keep playing. Now, it's not perfect by any means, but it's early in the season. We've played two really good opponents, Power 4 conference opponents, and USC and UCLA, and we've had the lead in the fourth quarter twice. One we let slip away, and this one we finished off. Look, football teams take on, identities and personalities. This group's going to battle. It may not be the cleanest. We'll continue to coach them because they want to do so well for LSU. They want to do it the right way, and they're going to work at it. And just really proud of the way they blocked out the noise, because I don't think anybody picked us to win this game. Everybody, had South Carolina winning this game. So they blocked out that noise this week and just focused on getting themselves ready to compete on the road against an SEC opponent. We had a freshman come in today, and Caden Durham, and produce some really important yards for us. Look, it's the SEC. You got to make people miss. You got to break through tackles. That's just the nature of it. And he did a great job today. And obviously Nuss continues to do great things at the quarterback position. But again, down 17-0, I think tells the story about the grit and the perseverance of this team.
Brian, from the opener, you mentioned how the offense put the defense in spots that it maybe wasn't quite ready for. Defense gave the offense two separate tries in the fourth quarter today to go down and try to take that lead. So just speak on maybe the growth you've seen out of that group just in the last couple of weeks.
Well, we had some complimentary football. I thought some of the big takeaways were the defensive stops that we had, that when we turned the ball over, generally, you would see that turn into a touchdown. We kept them to field goals. And so we showed that resolve defensively. And then we started to play some complementary football where, we get a stop on defense and then we score on offense. And we hadn't done that the first couple of weeks. So there's improvement there. But the great thing about it is there's great fight. They fight like LSU Tigers, and that's what we want for our fans. That's what they want for all their family. That's what they want, for their teammates. And they showed that today. If they continue to do that, which I know they will, because they're going to continue to prepare the right way, we just need to execute better. And if we do that, it's going to be a really good team.
You have a question? Raise your hand, Wilson.
I know I had some struggles in the red zone at times today, but then there at late in the fourth quarter, Josh Williams scores. Can you take us through that play call, just sort of what went into finally getting there in the end zone and cruising home?
Well, I can tell you what the play calls were that we struggled with. We got into the full house tee, and we have some new players in there, Gabe Relaford and Caleb, and we want that to be our kind of blue zone, short yardage, and we just didn't execute. We were a little late on some of our blocks. We got some penetration. Nuss got knocked off on that fourth down. If we're just a little bit more aggressive with our blocks, he's got Josh in the corner of the end zone. So it's timing. It's just being a little bit better at those plays, and we would have been really good in that blue zone. The play call there was we had two shots. From the two, we were going to take one shot with the sprint out, roll out pass, and then we were going to run it twice. So that was the first of a two-play sequence that we were going to run the football. So if we got it to probably 4th and 1 or less, it was probably going to be, quarterback sneak or something like that, but we were going to run it twice.
Bryce?
Brian, you talked about not letting go of the rope. It feels like your quarterback embodied that pretty well. Can you talk about just maybe the mental side that you saw of him? He looked pretty animated coming off the sideline and just keeping that level head and being able to get some big drives.
Yeah, I mean, he's part of that. I mean, he's a great leader. He communicates that to the group. He stays positive. He throws a pick in the red zone, and he comes back the next series. And you would never know that he made a mistake. He can forget those plays and move on to the next, and that's what you have to be a quarterback in the SEC. And elite quarterbacks have to do that. He just has that ability to go back and forget that play and move on to the next. And again, I think that's what makes him special.
Jared, in the back?
Brian, the fact that, of course, you lose John Henry in the backfield, and now you have a freshman stepping up the way Caden has done. How big does that really help their running back room when you have somebody dominating?
Well, it sets a standard of what we're looking for. Like, I think all those backs needed to see what we're asking them to do. Caden broke 3 or 4 tackles. I mean, that's the nature of the SEC. You're going to have that extra guy coming down. That's why you're on scholarship, okay? But quite frankly, you got to make some of these guys miss, and you got to run through some tackles. And we can't block them all the time. And he just did a really good job of showing himself today and setting a standard of what we need at that running back position.
Cobble?
Just Aaron Anderson, some big conversions.
Yeah, came up big when we needed him.
And then just the linebackers. How do you think they worked out today?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, we could, if they're not on the field, we don't win the game. Those are our best guys, right? But look, we want to fit plays better. When there's long runs, there's things that we need to clean up, right? But they're great players. They did a lot of good things today. Like I told our staff, like, I love the work ethic. I love the way they come to work and prepare. We just got to get cleaner. We got to clean up some things.
Chase?
Coach, you mentioned it. Defense made a lot of big plays today, but also a lot of mistakes. So that kind of style of defense is like boom or bust. Do you, in the coaching staff, do you feel that's sustainable?
I'm gonna be careful how I answer this question. We want to be better defensively, and a lot of this, all of this that you saw today on both sides of the ball, all of it is correctable, and all of it can be coached, and all of it can be executed. And so if we couldn't coach it, right, and it couldn't be executed, then we got to take it out. Like, if it's a scheme, we can't call that anymore. If it's a play that we can't run, then we got to take it out. Everything that we did today, we have to do better coaching it, and we have to do a better job executing it, and we're capable of doing it. We have to be better, and we will be.
John?
What about the mistakes in special teams you were able to overcome today?
I don't want to comment on. We had a bad snap. That's clear. He has been so good for the last 3 years. That's the first bad snap he's had in 3 years. It was untimely. Because it could have affected the game. But he has been so good. That was unfortunate. The block punt, I'm going to have to take that up with our SEC office. We believe it was an illegal block, and we voiced our concern with it. We will address it with the SEC officiating crew and John McNaid. We believe we have an argument there, and we'll bring it up to them.
In the back?
The defense had its moments today, Coach, but a guy that had a great day was Braden Swenson. He had 4 tackles with 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble. What can you kind of say what he's kind of meant to that defensive front?
You know, I don't want to take your question away from you, but Swinson was not the only one. There were a number of guys that played at that level. Savion played really well. Parashan played both inside and outside. So it's a good question, but I don't want to just point him out. He had a good game, but those four ends played really well. Swinson was the dropper, so you got a chance to see him in space, and he did some really good things for us. But all those ends played really well today.
Okay, we have time for two more. Wilson.
Brian, how do you think Lenore Sellers not being able to finish the game changed the complexion of what South Carolina could do offensively?
You know, Ashford looked pretty good in there too. Obviously, he had the long touchdown run. You know, it's hard to say one way or the other. I think what happened is clearly we got to the third down situations that we wanted to. We wanted to get them in third down, either Sellers or Ashford. And when we got them into third down, we were the victors, you know, and that's really the end of the game. We were able to get third down situations and make them predictable. It's kind of what I thought we needed to do. They were able to stay on schedule earlier with Sellers in the game, but when Ashford came in, we were able to get him off schedule, and that was really the difference.
Raph, you got the last one.
Brian, you're down 17-0. Did you have to change anything, say anything, or you said you liked the fight of the team? Did you see in their demeanor and their play that they didn't feel they were out of it? You just had to keep playing.
Yeah, I mean, there was no panic on the sideline. I mean, we needed to obviously get a score and come up with a stop and, you know, clean up some things. We just the group is a positive group. There's no finger pointing. They know what they needed to do to get back in the game. We needed to get a score, and we knew we were getting the ball in the third quarter, so it was a matter of getting a couple of stops, and we did. And I just never felt like the guys were in a panic mode and didn't feel like they could come back.
Thank you, Coach.
Good. Thank you.
Shout out to the fam, man. Appreciate y'all being in the Tough Tiger Talk recap. Man, what a game, man. What can I tell y'all, man? This was, I don't know what to say about this one, man, but a tough one. They go down there. South Carolina was about the business. Tough playing down there. The atmosphere was difficult. Man, it's just one of them games, man, where we led pretty. We trailed the majority of this game, man, and ultimately LSU was able to put 14 points up in the fourth quarter. Ultimately, take the game away from South Carolina in South Carolina. That was a real interesting contest, wasn't it, fam? I don't know what to make of that one, man. They win. LSU win. They improve to 2-1. They get their first SEC conference win over South Carolina. It was a tough one, man. What can I tell you? It kind of showed some stuff, man. We've seen a lot of positives in this contest, to be honest with you, fam. Shout out to y'all, man. I'm Big Q in this episode of the Tough Tiger Talk recap, man. Appreciate y'all being here during the stream. It was an interesting game. Wouldn't y'all say, fam? Very interesting matchup. LSU wins 36-33. Boy, oh boy, what an interesting game. Let's hit some of the statistics, man, here in the matchup here. First down, 26-18 LSU. Here in it, fourth down, both teams 0 for 1. The total yards, LSU almost 400 yards. 417 yards. South Carolina almost 400. A lot of yards here. 285 versus 155 throwing the ball for the quarterbacks. LSU averaged over 7 yards per throw. South Carolina almost 8. Both had interceptions, and which was really interesting is South Carolina had over 240 yards rushing against LSU's defense, man. We had a $132 on 32 carries, 4+ 1 yard per carry. South Carolina, 243, 41 rushing attempts, 6 yards a carry. Penalties were ridiculous for South Carolina that ultimately did them in. That was the really biggest take in terms of what happened with South Carolina is 13 penalties for 120 plus yards. And down the stretch, it got really ridiculous too. What happened with this team. And ultimately you've seen how it all went to hell in the handbasket for them. 9 penalties for 75 yards, but 13 penalties for 123 yards. And it was several times down the stretch in the fourth quarter where South Carolina had opportunities to do. The guy jumps offside there. That helps, sets up, and gets them down there, and it just went away. You can't have 13 penalties for 123 yards and plus turnovers and expect to beat any SEC team. LSU was able to take advantage of the follies and the miscues of South Carolina and were able to squeak through. Time of possession, LSU almost 33 minutes versus 27:03 for South Carolina. All right, big ups to the fam. Good to see you roll. Devin M. Dot says, I'm going to crank the grill up. Y'all enjoy the rest of the games today. Catch up. All right, shout out to you, M. Dot. Appreciate you, man, for being in the stream. Now, let's go individual, man, in this as well. Kind of look at the really solid performance by some of our guys, man. 24 attempts by Nussmeier for 40 attempts, 24-40 for 285. Very respectable numbers. He averaged over 7 yards to throw, 2 touchdowns and a pick by Nussmeier. LSU's rushing attack really came online. Caden Durham played really well. 11 carries. He had 98 yards, but he averaged almost a first down every time he rushed the ball. Something tell me that Caden Durham is going to have plenty of opportunities in the future to be running back for LSU. Caleb Jackson, 7 carries for 27 yards, not nearly as more impactful as what Caden Durham was doing, man. He had 2 touchdowns and almost 9 yards average per carry. Josh Williams, 10 for 20 for 2. He had a score as well. So the rushing attack provided well. 32 carries for 132 yards, averaged over 4 yards per carry, and 3 rushing touchdowns from the team. Receiver-wise, LSU had a lot of playmakers there. Aaron Anderson, 5 for 95. Kyron Lacey, 5 for 63. And a touchdown. Mason Taylor, 6 for 58 in the score. 4 for 53 for CJ Daniels. No scores for him. And they were able to get it. But Kyron Lacey had several really tough catches in the day as he continued to be the top guy for them. And, of course, like we said, the fumbles lost. Garrett Nussmeier with the fumble loss. You had a recovery by Major Burns and Harold Perkins. In the game, and Zaire Alexander had his pick in the matchup as well. So it's very, very promising performance in terms of what we've seen from our rushing attack finally got going. It just, you can't, all due respect, and Lenoris Sellers is very good. You know, he's a very mobile. He's a very good mobile quarterback. He moves around and does his thing, but not too much on the passing game. But he does have a really good scramble ability. He was the second leading rusher behind Raheem Sanders, who put up 143 yards against him, 7.5 yards a carry and 2 touchdowns. And then Sellers was 10 scrambles for 88 yards, almost 9 yards a carry. So you put both those guys together, that accounts for over 40 carries for 243 yards, 6 yards per rush with 4 touchdowns. And that's where South Carolina was able to sustain itself in part because of the rushing attack. 4 touchdowns from the running attack. The scramble attack from South Carolina kept them pretty much in this game until stuff started breaking down. They wouldn't really passing the ball like that. You seen Lenoris Sellers in there, 9 of 16 for a buck 13, 7 yards per catch. He had a throw. He had an interception there as well. And then you seen Ashford coming there, 2 for 4. But it wasn't popping for those guys in there, man. You know, they're passing attack. We know they're dealing with issues with their injuries there. But in the end, LSU, and the feel of this, to be honest with you, family, because Herrera missed the field goal at the end that could have ultimately tied the game and forced overtime. What was really interesting about this game is the fact that it might have not been exactly what we wanted to see from LSU in terms of them coming out and just running and just dominating, doing whatever they do. But what it did show some of the family members is that LSU were able to stay in this game. You know, the defense stiffened. They held them to 3 field goals in the fourth quarter. The offense got going, made some stuff happen. They took advantage of the turnovers. They took advantage of the dumb penalties. by South Carolina. They were able to accrue a very difficult win over South Carolina. They improved the 2-1 LSU on a 2-game winning streak. Now have to beat Nichols in week 2. Now it's South Carolina. And now LSU will come home for 2 games, fam. They'll come home for 2 games and they'll see what they can do against UCLA and South Alabama. Those are the next 2 games on the docket. But UCLA is next, man. UCLA, and it's like we're saying, UCLA is a game now we have to watch out for. They play later on today against Indiana. Right now, they did beat Hawaii. They anticipated to beat Indiana, so they could be undefeated coming into LSU. But this should be a smackdown of the Bruins. We should be able to handle business. But like I said, one thing at a time. This was a very interesting win by LSU, trailing pretty much as they did, but we're able to fight from behind and come from behind and win the game, showing some gumption there, showing some courage, some strength there, because we're not done yet with the rest of the season. Still a lot of really good games left to play in the LSU Tigers schedule. But next up is UCLA, baby. Next up. All right. So anyway, with that being said, fam, we're going to get out on that. I appreciate y'all chiming in on the live scoreboard reaction to this thing. Rose says Nuss refused to run. He had wide open lanes to scramble. I know, and that was really frustrating. I seen Nussmeier just standing there. And then a lot of times, fam, too, have y'all noticed that Nussmeier is scrambling outside the pocket and trying to throw on a run? He's very, I ain't gonna say he's super inaccurate, but remember that sure he has to really work on that aspect of his game, because you would think he does have some wheels. He's not Jaden Daniels, far few are, but he can move if he needs to. He over relies on standing in the pocket and delivering a gun pass or whatever. But when he gets outside the pocket and has to scramble around to make plays, his accuracy severely dips. We've seen it in the UCLA matchup in week 1, where he had an opportunity in the last drive of the play, offensively speaking, for LSU to make a throw, toward the right sideline I think it was the running back, and he threw the ball in the ground. And then, of course, you guys, if you didn't notice, the play where he had an opportunity to throw a touchdown there, on that last offensive series, he waited too long to deliver the ball. And when he did throw it, it almost was intercepted. So at some point, people are going to recognize that if you force him out of the pocket, he's half as accurate, and his decision making at times is kind of flawed when you push him outside the pocket. So yeah, that's something to look out for. But yeah, he had plenty of opportunities to scramble and present options or difficulties for South Carolina's defense. He just elected to stand there and try to make a throw. Sometimes you got to get out of there, man. Maybe that'll be something they work on as we go forward. True Louisiana says, yeah, when he has ran before and wasn't bad with it, he must be scared for some. I don't know what it is, but maybe that's something where Coach Kelly can kind of figure that thing out, because that's one thing I noticed by watching him over these last 3 games. It's when he scrambles outside of the pocket, his passes, his accuracy dips, and his decision making at times is questionable. So he's a little too comfortable there. To be a kind of a more of a balanced quarterback, he has to be able to do, because he has a gun. His decision making in the pocket is pretty solid. But when he scrambles out of there, man, they put pressure on him, push him out of there, man. It's like a fish in the desert. He don't know what to do. He's suffocating all over the damn place. All right, so listen, fam, we're going to get ready to get out on that, man. But listen, thank you guys for tuning in to the show. Y'all feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. Once again, LSU gets the victory against South Carolina, 36-33. They come from behind and are able to beat South Carolina, and they improve to 2-1, and they're headed into week number 4 against UCLA in Death Valley. So that's going to be a fun game as well. I anticipate LSU is going to hammer them, but that's why we play the games, right? But anyway, I'm gonna holler at y'all next time. Much love and peace. Go Tigers.
Subscribe to the Top Tiger Talk channel. LSU football.